It has been long neglected and long underreported issue actually. And they basically for nearly 200 years, they have been living almost in the same kind of conditions. And most of the political parties actually based among those people were basically are working as a kind of junior partners of the state to exploit the people, to oppress the people more. Like, I mean, all these groups led by like Thondaman and all these people, you know. So therefore, I mean, even the grievances of their people, I mean, the grievances of the plantation Tamil people is not properly presented because there's no such organization in those areas. I mean, up till quite recently, there was no such groups who put forward the political aspirations of these people. They put forward the economic kind of demands of these people in the day-to-day life, but not any political aspirations. I mean, their conditions as workers were discussed, whether they should get a proper pay, whether they should get proper housing, whether they should get land rights, and all these things were separately discussed, but not as a community because they live surrounded by Sinhala villages actually. So they are like islands in the Sinhala areas, basically. So therefore, the level of vulnerability is quite high. If something happens, they can easily, you know, attack them, which has happened so many times in the past. And therefore, I think, I mean, even to formulate the political demands of the plantation Tamil people about the way, because I mean, apart from being workers, oppressed, exploited as workers, there's a ethnic dimension, I mean, kind of a ethnic dimension to the question, because they are exploited as workers, but not simply as workers, but as Tamil workers. So with the Sinhala workers, they can crush a strike action. But with the Tamil workers, they can crush a strike action not by using industrial laws. They can use Prevention of Terrorism Act against striking work in the plantations, unlike with the Sinhala workers actually. They can arrest a Sinhala worker for disrupting essential services, but not under Prevention of Terrorism Act, like they did to the Muslims as well. So the Prevention of Terrorism Act, if you take as an example, it is a law that is being racially applied all the time. It has been except during the time between 1987 and 89. Throughout the past, since 1978, since the day it was in 79, since the day it was introduced, it has been always used against non-Sinhala people. I mean, it has been used against the Tamil people, and since recently, it has been also used against the Muslims as well, because there are quite a lot of Muslim political prisoners who are in detention now. So therefore, I think the plight of the biggest problem, I think, in the plantation area is the lack of genuine political leadership. Because I mean, for example, in the past, there were kind of considerable presence of the left-wing parties in those areas, which is not the case now. Their actions, for example, the JAP has certain kind of, you know, they have unions in the plantation areas, but I always doubt about the genuine intentions of the JVP when it comes to the grievances of the plantation workers, the real needs of the plantation workers, to what extent they actually represent those interests, or whether they are looking at them as a vote bank. This is not clear, because when you look at their general practices. So in that sense, I think, as you said, non-contiguous kind of representation. I mean, if there are discussions, but I haven't seen kind of deep discussions going on this matter. There had been certain kind of, to a certain extent, there had been a certain level of, you know, admission, I mean, admitting that there are certain problems, but I'm not sure about how deep, how profound those discussions are. That has to be, I think that needs to be seen in the coming future, I think.